Hello, everyone. My name is Chunyu. I'm from AECOM, Tampa, Florida. I'm a transportation planner, but inspired by all of you guys here, I decided to call myself a data scientist since yesterday. And as a new data scientist, my first job is to talk to Catherine and to find out how is this PowerPoint or the topics being ranked? Is it by order, by the time, like 320? That will be the right. So it was by more interesting or more important. And actually, the answer is they did an evaluation of all the speakers. It's by the knowledge of the speaker. So if I were you, don't put too much expectation on this presentation. But stop me along this presentation as much as you can, because my experience as a new data scientist, I will confuse everybody, including myself, in this room, if nobody stops me. But if you do stop me, I won't be able to finish my presentation. So how to resolve this problem? I'm starting with the result first, and then we're going back. Okay. So I'm going to talk about two studies. One is the I-75 freight corridor study. And the other one is the US 192. I would like to start with a glance of the study area. It's the I-75 study from Gainesville all the way down to Turnpike over here. And the first one, starting from the County Road 334, this is the input of our district, District 5 in DOT. It goes to every single interchange by interchange, and the output or the result of our analysis is to find out for two things. Number one is the number of truck percentages along the corridor. It's ranking between 15 to 20%. That's our first observation. The second one is by looking at each corridor or each interchange, and if you look at the table on the left, that shows how much truck percentage from the very beginning of the corridor. We don't care about the adding truck trips, just the majority of the trip coming down here, down to Turnpike and I-75 on the full corridor, the truck trip, there's 64% of the trucks stay on the corridor. And we have each ramp on and off, northbound and southbound. So that's how this project is. So that's the end of this. The table on the left, that's showing an example of why we need a graphic designer if you wanted to present something like this. So this is the opposite example of how to show the number. The other one is, I wish I can. This is US 192 in the Disney area. And starting from here, this corridor is US 192. And starting from, this is US 27, going towards there, that's Disney. So the study is trying to find out if we travel along this corridor. The first one, and let's go the next. So this is by each different interchange and across the street. And we gradually from here, we started to hit Stereo 429, which is the tollway, and then the next one is Disney, and then it's I-4, so on and so forth. So this corridor is to find out what's the OD, the patterns here, and I'll switch back to the PowerPoint. Okay, the first one is just trying to find the OD and truck percentages, everything. The second one is actually a very interesting project. It's a mixed-use mobility lane, and we were looking at the options of a BRT or express lane versus the express lane from the the vehicle trips or the BRT or express bus on the transit buses. So, see, the challenge for the second project is we're dealing with different market segments, highway and transit. And the first one is looking for the truck. So very briefly, for the I-75, the first free corridor, we look at the 2017. We only pull out the 2017 the data from Streetlight and compare with the FDOT, ADT, and truck ADT so that we can compare the percentages. That's the first goal that's coming out of the DOT. They want to see the percentage truck versus the overall traffic counts. The person trips is pulling out from the location-based services, and the commercial trips are from the GPS navigation data. So the first thing we learned is, again, we focus on the same daily trip and same weekdays. And the first thing we learn is once we pull out the truck, we'll pull out the personal and put them together, and the truck numbers are higher than personal trips. That's because it's the Streetlight index. So one more step we need to do is to calibrate the Streetlight index into the existing FDOT, ADT, and truck ADT. So we calibrate the truck percentage down and the person trips up so that we can do a truck percentage of every single cell by cell. So the output of this first study is from the first segment down to the very last, which is Turnpike, we come up with the percentage of northbound traffic and southbound traffic, the truck percentage on every single segment, mainline and ramps. So this will give us a percentage of the truck, how important the truck is playing in this corridor. And the final purpose for this is for DOT to release a study, it's a PD&E study, to look into a possibility of a truck express lane. So the next page would actually give us a little bit more information is, if I'm from here, if I'm from I-10 all the way from Georgia coming down, and once I hit I-10, if I have 100 cars, 85 cars will stay into the Orlando area. And after this whole corridor, there's still 55% stay on the corridor, which means that if we build a crossover from somewhere between I-10 and our area, which means this is actually related to the district north of us. So if we build something for truck only, from there all the way to Turnpike, we can serve 55% of the truck, which means you can get 55% of the truck off of the main line. So the local traffic or personal trip will not intervene with this, especially in this area. There are lots of wait stations and for truck to stops. So once we doing the wave everything with the personal cars, cause a lot of problems, and also it's especially safety problems once the truck is changing the lanes and everything. So, and the DOT SIS planning manager also asked another question is, okay, so now I know this much for the trip coming from Georgia, but how much from the north part of my this area pass through all the way to Turnpike? So that's what we did. The second one, which is we assume is 100% from the north, and how many past this point? 64%. So and vice versa, we did the for the southbound as well. So to prepare for this map, like I said, well, we don't have to look into the details of this. This is showing after we calibrated, the truck trip table goes lower to match with the truck ADT of every single interchange and also the main line, and the person trips is matching with that. So then we did a percentage to come up with the numbers and everything. So after we did this, we successfully confused everybody by producing all these numbers. So we're like, okay, I try to explain this data to our clients or all the people in the room. I was like, let me start with the most simple one. See, this is 19 by 19. According to a study, we as human beings can only possibly graphically analyze up to 25 by 25 numbers. That's 625 numbers. That's still beyond our imagination. So I said, how about this? I will not look at this 19 by 19. I will tell you how many trips was through our corridor. That will be the number one. And if you need the through traffic goes to any single interchange, you can do that. And from any interchange to anywhere, you can do that. Pick it with one OD first and go from there. So that's how we educated our clients to how to look at this, even if it's 19 by 19. So then we use this great tool from the web portal. It's called chord diagram. By the time I showed this in the DOT auditorium, about 98% of the people closed their eyes because they don't want to see this. And plus, this is only for one segment. And the one I showed them is from all to all. So it's almost like a wheel, right? So I was like, don't be panicked. Let's start with the most simple one. So first of all, I told them, I said, the blue is representing destination, and orange is representing origin. So let's just look at from north, top, how many trips go through the traffic, the study area, go to the south. And this is showing how many percentage are going there, but it's showing how many from this and how many from there. And because it's diverged from I-75 South and Turnpike. So you have I-75 to a major point, you diverge into two major areas. I-75 goes to Tampa, Sarasota, Fort Myers, and Naples, and the Turnpike goes to Orlando and Miami. So that's how we try to differentiate it. But it's clearly, we don't want to confuse ourselves, but it's clearly saying it's major diverted into two groups. And those two groups are almost identical. Everything else within the study area, all the interchanges, are minorities. That's all we need to know at this point. So now let's look at the opposite direction, going back up. So this is showing from Turnpike, going back up north. It's this way, right? This is showing from I-75 going back up. So what do you see from those two maps? My observation, or the way I started with is, okay, I feel like Turnpike is more concentrating on this with less interaction with your local interchanges here. But for I-75, I have something like this. So there's big, and later on we found out, we were talking with the freight coordinator in District 5, they're like, okay, I know there's a truck stops right there, and there's a wait station somewhere. So then we started with the discussion, first of all, grab everybody's interest without looking into the data, just trying to tell the story. Why I-75 is more interactive with here, and Turnpike is not. We end up with all different kinds of guesses. Well, people from Turnpike, they're paying the toll, and all of a sudden they don't pay the toll, they want to go further along. You're right. Okay, so you can end up with all kinds of different imaginary stories, and then we presented this to the D5 secretary. He came up with something. He said, on the Turnpike, because he came from Turnpike, he's the director of Turnpike. He said, before the junction of Turnpike, there is a huge truck station, resting area. So most of the people, truck drivers will stop there. So the chance for them to stop at this area right after, it's less, much less. So the story is hiding behind the data. So if we use the data, try to interpret whatever the way we want it to, we're almost like we get to 90% of the analysis and we end up with wrong results. So that's all I wanted to share on this side. And this is actually providing public information for open bid of the I-75 truck and corridor study for all of the consultants in FDOT in District 5 to providing all this information to them. And the purpose of the project is try to look for a truck express lane to see if it's necessary or if it's feasible or if it's beneficiary for saving the traffic, the travel time, as well as the safety in this area.